girlies, and welcome to the Goddess Evolution online retreat. I'm your host, Shintana Talise, and I am here with our special guest, Blaire Stanislao. How do I say that?
Yep, that's right, Stanislao.
Okay, where we will be revealing the secrets on how to channel the divine to heal your past lives and timelines. Blaire, I'm so excited to have you here. Let's jump right in.
Thank you.
So, can you tell us about what it is you do and how you came to do it?
Oh my goodness. Okay. Yes, I help people. Really, I help people to connect to what's in their subconscious so that they can see it, allow it to be whatever it needs to be that it's not been allowed to be in the past, and then heal from that.
I love that. How does that work? How do you do
Um,
that?
so I mean, I've dived into many different ways of getting to it. It's like, how do you figure out what's in the subconscious, but not just what's in the subconscious, but like what's in the subconscious that is actually causing you a problem, right? Something that you don't want to have happen. So there's many ways of doing that. I do several of them. I do hypnosis, I do dream interpretation, I do Reiki, I do energy healing, other kinds of energy healing, that kind of stuff. So anything to kind of dive into the subtleness is sort of what I do. And then it's like pulling the information out in a way that the person can actually receive it.
Wow. So what
Yeah.
got you into doing this work?
Oh my goodness. I really don't know. Other than the fact that my whole life I've always kind of been looking for more of a truth that I'm just not getting to the point where I'm really recognizing what is it that I've been looking for. And what I've been looking for is truths that seem to resonate with me. And I say that in a way that even as a child, I knew that certain things that were presented to me were really not right. Okay. So, like treating somebody poorly, it doesn't work. Even a child knows that doesn't feel good to me. It doesn't feel good to anybody else. So, even as a child, you kind of know, like, where am I going? So that's a way of sensing the energy. And I feel like I'm brand new in learning to identify what it feels like to sense the energies, although I know I'm not, right? Like it feels brand new in the sense that as I talk to other people who do this, I learned there's all different kinds of ways that you can sense that energy, that you can translate what's coming through. And then the question is really, what do you do with it?
So what do you do with it?
Well, what I find the most valuable thing to do with it is to figure out how it applies in your life. Like, how does it apply in this 3D world? So, something's not working for you. You're not having the relationship that you want. Your job is not the way you want it. Your health is not the way you want it. You're trying to figure out what are the energies telling you that are helping you to get there. And I think we all know intuitively, instinctively that whatever you want to call it, source, the great beyond, whatever, the energy that's out there creating this is in our best interest. In a sense, it's ourselves as a bigger energy, right? Why would ourselves do anything that's particularly painful for us or miserable for us unless we were meant to use it to learn, right? So anytime you have something that causes you to be uncomfortable, miserable, that kind of thing, then you figure out what's underneath that. Essentially, you need to go into channeling. That's what we're talking about here, right? Okay,
Yeah.
so you go into channeling, you get the information. And what I have found, at least for me, and I think it is for other people too, is that the most difficult part is to sustain that channeling. Because usually we get a bit of information and we're like, oh, I know what to do now. And then you go and you play, right? You go do whatever you do. But if you can stay there long enough, you can actually shift those things, which is what we're talking about here. You can shift those things in your life to actually be a different experience.
I love that.
Yeah. Yeah.
That is brilliant. So because we're in terms of channeling, do you have specific beings that you're working with right now that are helping you with this transformation in your life?
Um, I'll tell you, this is something else that I personally struggle with in this realm. And I think it's really meaning this realm, meaning the people who do channeling and so forth, because we're all people, we're all 3D, we're all physical beings, and we all have the constructs. We're talking now because of language, right? There's a construct of language. So there's these constructs that we all operate within. And I don't think I actually ever did completely operate within the same parameters that a lot of other people did. So, for example, you say, do you have anybody any energies that you're working with? Well, one of those things that I don't really hold tight to, that is a construct of a human life, I think, is names. So like, I mean, yes, but I don't know what they're called. I don't even care what they're called. To be truthful, I really don't. And I had this presented to me with a friend who actually is very much part of that. They believe in that structure and they admire it, they love it, they use it, so she was connecting with her energies, the energies that were helping her, and she was basically demanding them give her a name. And I'm listening to her say this, and she's just kind of going on a rant. I'm like, why does it even matter what name it is? Like, that's just a name. That's something we call, right? But if you sense the energies, if you're in tune with it, you pretty much know, like, this is one that's going to work for me. Or, yeah, I don't like that one. I'm going to go away, whatever it is. So I don't know. I can't say that I have a story that goes with it. That's another thing is I don't love fiction, which to me, it's not that is necessarily fiction, but to me, it reminds me of fiction because you have to remember the names, and I'm terrible at names. That probably helps me not like names too. But anyway, so I don't know who they are. But yes, I know their energies.
I love that. I feel like it's not as important for a name. Like a name is important.
Yeah.
Like if I'm working with a specific being and they're coming through and I have no clue, but if you're not a name person, then at least knowing, like sometimes it comes through as like a feeling of the energy. And as long as you're asking the questions, okay, like, are you serving the light? Like, are you of the highest light? To make sure you have that clear and perfect channel, then you can proceed regardless if you are someone that you're like, well, I don't need the name. I don't care about that. That's fine. But as long as you're still taking that precautionary, okay, like making sure they're of the light and not trying to fuck with you.
Yeah, and actually, I grew up in a Christian society, right?
Yeah.
Okay, America, not that surprising. But I remember thinking all of the rules that were put around prayer.
There's
And
rules
to
of
me,
prayer.
oh yes, oh yes, yes, lots and lots for some people, right? Okay. But there were these rules. It was like, you need to do it this way. You have to be in this position. You have to say these words. You have to do it at this time. There are all these things around it. And the construct for me, the idea as a child of whatever God is or this source energy, what have you, didn't align with all of those rules per se. Because I don't know, there was a rule like, I don't know. This was the one where this was totally clear. So I was in high school, and at that point in time, I grew up in the South, and they were pretty strong about separation of church and state. And I have since moved from there and experienced my children in other schools and realized even though there is technically separation of church and state in the United States, there are a lot of places where that's not actually true in the sense that a lot of children will, because it's the majority, they will say something to another child about you need to pray or you need to do this kind of thing. But where I grew up, it was very distinct. It was, no, that's church and this is school, right? Like you don't do those two together. So they
Mhm.
had developed a group. I don't know what it was, some kind of Christian group, and it was like something at the pole. Like they go to the flagpole and do a prayer, which is a nice thing in the morning. Like they get in a group and they go to a prayer and have it. And I was like, okay, why does it have to be a thing? Like, I don't really get that. Can't you just like pray anytime you wanted? Like, can't you just talk to them all the time? So that's where I really got concrete about those rules really don't work for me. Like that, to me, that was a little bit over the top. Like, I don't know what the point was of saying that we have to do that. Not that it's a bad thing at all. Just what I pulled from that was, okay, there's some sort of boxes that people put around how do you connect to source, right? And those boxes didn't work for me.
But I feel like it's not like one size fits all.
Right.
It's really not. It's so diverse because you know what? Sometimes the best guidance I have is when I'm sitting there washing dishes or I go for a drive. Like it comes through in so many different ways. It's not you have to sit, you have to pray or channel,
Yeah.
and that's the only way to do it. You have to actually,
Yes.
because then that's more closing off your channel the rest of the time.
Well, I think too, so I think it's like, to me, it's this great area where you got sometimes rituals help, right? Like if we do, like in my group, we do Qigong, we balance the chakras, we, connect our energies. We have this whole kind of a ceremony thing that we do, and then we get in the zone.
Yeah,
Okay. And like when you do those things, it's like instantaneous. Like I'm out in like 10 seconds, gone, right? And I've noticed that if I don't do that, it doesn't come quite as fast. So there's some benefit to doing the ceremonial kind of things. But like you said, it doesn't have to be the same for everybody. And it doesn't have to be the same all the time. And when you learn how to do it in different ways, like you're washing dishes or you're driving or whatever it is, you do it in different ways, then you can find that it's actually really easy to get there. It's really easy to get the answer. And then I think the next biggest obstacle for most people is the mental chatter that our mind does, that we sometimes have difficulty distinguishing between the mental chatter and what is coming through as information.
I agree.
Yeah.
That's where it's you want that ego to you like you need to tune in with yourself and basically tell that ego to take a hike or to give it that space and say, okay, like I'm gonna just let this run for a moment. It's okay, like I accept it. This is coming through. Okay, now that that is done, please back off. We're gonna focus, and then you can go into it.
Yeah. Yeah. I've even found sometimes, I think you just have to do it like based on feel of how things are going. But I've even found sometimes it's actually easier to just let some of that monkey mind go, like let it run and be like, okay, I see you. Now be quiet. Almost like a little child who doesn't know how to be quiet in the right place, right? Like go over there and be a little quieter so that I can focus on this, right? And so it's not like you're negating or saying there's anything negative per se, because there's not, right? Like the monkey mind is important. Our minds, our mental minds is actually really important, but it's not what you're trying to get to when you do the channeling.
I love that you call it the monkey mind because that's what I always call it. Yeah,
Yeah.
monkey mind.
Yeah.
Monkeying around.
Yeah, that's basically what it's doing, right?
Yeah. No, I love that. It's just, I feel like going back to kind of the name thing and then going elsewhere, like I feel like you don't want channeling to always be so structured. You need that balance.
Mhm.
And because some, like when I'm creating, say, like if I'm going to sit and create a program, I need to know their name. I need to know the details. I
Oh,
need
sure. Yeah.
But when
Right.
I'm just channeling and I'm with my team and they're just kind of hanging out with me and I'm allowing them into my space and they're guiding me, oh, I don't care. I don't care what your name is. Just do what you need to
Right.
do.
So you would say then that the names serve a purpose. So for example, you're talking about when you're creating something. Well, part of the reason you need a name for it is that you're creating something and there's meaning to names, right? There's meaning to words. So if you're given a name, then that gives you a feeling of what that is. And then even when you're not in the zone and you're off doing something else, you still know this name. And so
Mhm.
you can be looking for those other tips about, oh, this name is connected to that information. This name is connected to that idea. This name is connected to that color, right? So then you can continue connecting the dots. So it absolutely is, it's kind of like, it reminds me of doing like a visual piece of artwork, right? You're creating something
Mhm.
and you have to pick a color. Well, a color is known by its name, which is a hue, right? So it doesn't really matter what it is. It just matters that you picked one and that it resonates with whatever you want to make.
Pink.
Yeah. Yeah. Usually good.
So yeah, I agree with that because like for like my academy at the top, like
Mhm.
it was Goddess Isis that came through. So it was every time I tuned in to work with her with the program, it was like, okay, this is who I'm calling in. We need more information. I'm tuning right back in. So it's very structured in that way, but there's also the not structured point where it's like you gotta let it flow. You gotta have fun with it. I love that. This is the best conversation.
Well, actually, okay, so after my husband died, I didn't know I was doing this, but I was like, miserable. So I was listening to anything I could get my hands on that resonated with me, okay, which wound up being all of this stuff. And I kept listening to things, and the answer was always meditate. Okay, everybody says it's meditate. So I picked somebody whose voice wasn't annoying to me, which this particular time happened to be Deepak Chopra. Okay. And so I had listened to him many times over, and I don't know if I had listened to this many times over, but I had heard him say this before. But one time it finally resonated with me. I kept listening. And whatever he was saying, he was actually describing what meditation really is, which is channeling, right? You're getting in the zone. Okay. He was describing what it is. And I thought to myself, you know what? I've been doing that my whole life. And you don't have to sit still, and you don't have to sit in the OM position or whatever that is. You don't have to do XYZ. And I realized that for me, one of those things is as a child, I did it riding my bike. And there's actually been times where like I've been in a really, really bad funk, like really angry about something. And I decide okay, I need to meditate, but I definitely don't feel like meditating because I'm angry, right? So I went to the gym and I'm like, I'm going to meditate while I'm exercising, right? Which doesn't make a whole lot of sense,
Yes.
except that it really did work. Okay. I put on the right kind of music and noise. And I essentially just got in the zone. And that's kind of what yoga is, right? Like yoga it causes your body to be occupied so that you're not overly concerned with your body, so that you can then focus on that higher energy.
I love yoga. I actually started doing yoga in the mornings because it brings you right into, and then I can like, when I'm a yawner, when I release energy, I just yawn and yawn. And so I'm sitting there doing yoga, and the whole time I'm like yawning and just letting go. And it's great because then you get done and you're just like, I just feel so good.
Yeah. Well, I think I was a teacher too, okay? And I of course had lots of students who had ADHD. And I have seen for many years the ill effects of not only medication, but also whatever society's opinions are about people with ADHD. But not once have I ever seen a person with ADHD who's not incredibly intelligent. Okay. So for the most part, it wasn't really a problem in my classroom. But I kind of liken this to similar to what students with ADHD do. So for example, I can remember like what happens is their mind moves so fast that they're kind of bored with what's going on.
Mhm.
Okay, so they have to sustain attention to make the outside world happy, to pass their test or behave in a certain way or whatever. So that's what they're really some of it is what they're really kind of paying attention to. But they're in the meanwhile, they're trying to distract themselves because you're talking too slow, right? Okay,
Mhm.
so that's not that much different than the meditation in the sense that, especially like with exercise and stuff, you're really just distracting that monkey mind with your physical movement. It doesn't matter what it is, right? You just distract yourself with something that you can push aside so then you can focus on the real thing. But it's not like 100% focus all the time.
That's actually brilliant. I think if people were to realize that, they could realize how easy it is to actually channel.
Yeah, yeah. Well, there's a lot of kind of like collective, I don't think it's believed because I don't think a lot of people believe this, but I think there's a lot of people who say, you need to behave in a certain way. Like you need to meditate in a certain way. You need to pray in a certain way. And like you said, it really just doesn't work for everybody. And so, but because that's the heavy belief system that we all kind of theoretically agree with, then we have that subconsciously, like it's in there, like you want to behave because you want to be a good kid, or really it's because you want love, right?
Yep, that's exactly what it is. Validate my feelings, please. I'll be good. You're doing
Yeah, yeah.
it. Give me some trauma, please.
Well, there's a plethora of that.
So sad, but it's true.
Yeah.
Um, what advice would you give to someone who wants to channel but feels nervous or unsure about it?
I think I would advise them exactly what we're talking about. Allow yourself to go there, but allow yourself to also be distracted. So what you're doing is you're kind of releasing the judgment, right? You're releasing this belief that you should do it in a certain way and allowing yourself just to go there, because I think we actually go there naturally, whether we acknowledge it or not, we really do. So that's what they say about hypnosis. A lot of times if people are nervous about being able to go under in hypnosis, well, frankly, that's baloney, because everybody goes under hypnosis at least twice a day, before and after they go to sleep, right?
Mhm.
So really what it is kind of like when you're driving and you don't even remember what happened while you were driving because you've driven this route 500 times, right? But you did it and you did it fine. So that's the same example of hypnosis. We do that all the time. We kind of like you daydream, you just zone out or whatever. So what I'm saying is the first step I probably say is relax and stop judging yourself. Stop listening to those programs that we're all told.
Let it go.
That's, that could also be an annoying thing you could ignore.
How can people work with you?
Well, I have a website, happylyonscenter.com, and I've got all the information there. Like I said, I do hypnosis, I do dream interpretation, I do all different kinds of things. So they can reach out to me that way.
Nice. And what is your website? Oh, you said it.
Oh, well, it's happylyonscenter.com and it's Lyon. It's not like the animal.
Hmm. Okay. And can you share with the audience your free gift?
Sure. My free gift is to get a dream interpretation. You'll actually get 20% off of a live dream interpretation. But you will actually get 3 dreams interpreted instead of just one.
Thank you. That's amazing, guys. Make sure you click that button down below and claim that amazing free gift. And would you end us off with a message or a healing, whatever it is you feel called to do, please?
Yes. Okay. Okay, so let's just take a couple deep breaths. Put your hand on your heart. And I want you to just pull the energy into your heart chakra. And with each breath, I want you to feel that energy expand bigger and bigger. The energy of love, self-acceptance. And if you're having trouble get there, you just want to think about anything that brings you joy. You can stay on that as long as you'd like. And I want you to just pull that into your body. And then we're just going to gently come out of this very slowly. So you can continue to take deep breaths. Maybe wiggle part of your body, shoulders, your hands. And on the count of 3, you'll be back in your 3D life, but you're going to bring this part with you. 1, you're coming more into your physical body, into this 3D world. 2, you can still feel that love essence emanating from your core. And 3, you're here.